Welcome everyone back to Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. Actually, 3, 2, 1, hack. Welcome everyone back to Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. I'm Greg Hill. I'm your host of your fishing show today. I'm coming to you from beautiful Lake Fork. It is December the 6th. It's a nice cool temperature today. The wind's been blowing. You know, it was blowing pretty hard earlier, but it's kind of calmed down now. I decided to kind of shoot this outside instead of on the boat. It's just a nice day to be out here looking out over the lake. So I have a great view across my property out here, so it's really nice. So, Lake Fork rundown here for this week. It's actually going to be for almost like the last month. Have a couple stories to tell you. Caught a really big fish. One of my customers caught, really once in a lifetime fish, and really happy to be part of that. And I'll get to that in a bit. But want to just kind of talk about December fishing and really into January fishing, and talk about what you can be looking at for the temperatures, and considering what happened last year, where we were in the middle of a great fishing, I think after the beginning of the year, and then we had that freeze later on in February. But look, we're just starting to get to this point where it's in transition. But let me talk about the lake levels and stuff right now. So the lake level is right about 400 right now, so it's just around 3 feet low. How that affecting the fishing? Well, most of the grass in the lake is out of the water. There's a couple places, if you go way back in the back of the coves, way back in the top of like the north areas, you can find some grass that's still in the water there. And you'll tend to find it in some places that had some steeper banks that the grass was just growing into it anyway. And the water's come down. It really hasn't, it hasn't receded that back from the bank at all. So it's, so it's better. When you get to the spots like my cove and some other coves here that are, fairly shallow banked, the water's pulled back 45 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet from the bank. So, really, any grass that was grown up, any of the reeds that are in the water, they're all completely out of the water. So the fish have pulled back out of those areas, and now they're having to get back into kind of like a timber again. It's what's been happening on the lake a lot, but a lot of timber fish. The water level, we had some rain last week and the water came up a little bit, but it went right back down. So it really didn't make any impact to the lake level except for like a day or two, because it went down almost immediately. So the lake had gone through a turnover. It's been multiple turnovers, it seems like. And even right now, just out yesterday, I found parts of the lake where the water is very clear. It's mostly down by the main lake areas, and then down up into these coves, the water's gotten that greenish color again. So you might only have a foot of visibility, 8 inches of visibility in some of the water. In some places, you've got 3 feet of visibility. So it's making a difference in how the fish are reacting, I think. And it's having a difference in your lure selection and what you can be doing, and just the your overall attitude towards how am I grind out some fish. Because some of these fish, they're used to being clear water, they're kind of visual hunters, and then all of a sudden the water gets dingy on them, and now they can't really be that visual hunter. They have to rely on their lateral lines to track stuff down. And face it, none of us likes to walk around in a big dark room. So you're out there and you're a fish, you're in this water, it's like a room, it's nice and clear. Next thing you know, it gets muddy, for us getting dark. Well, we can't see anything, so we don't want to just wander around a big dark room. We're going to go over near some cover. We're going to go to a wall and find it feels safe, at least on one side. Fish are going to do the same thing. They're going to look for some cover. They're going to get really close into some cover. They're going to try to find some trees or some lay down, something they can relate to, and just kind of hunker down. And it's got to do with the light level, I think, also, because as that water gets more dingy, the light levels at those depths gets less. So they're going to have to change their depth also. They need it. They can't close their eyeballs, so they have to kind of move their depth up to kind of keep from when it's real bright in the summer and everything, they're trying to forces them back down. Here, I think when it gets dingy, it's going to force them into some shallower water. Either shallow water, or they're going to retreat into some of the tops of these tree tops, and that's why I think I'm seeing some of that. You'll get fish sitting out in the tops of trees in 10 feet, but they'll be in the upper 4 to 5 feet of that tree. They won't be down deeper. So, and I have the advantage of using the Garmin LiveScope system to do that. So, but let's get back to, just the water. So, okay, so the lake levels are lower. You got difference in clarity in the areas. The temperatures are pretty stable around 59 degrees, 59, 60 degrees. Haven't really had much changes either in the day or in the night, because I've been doing some night fishing, and really haven't seen too many changes in those water temperatures. You know, we're having the cooler nights, and the sun has been out during the day. We had a day last week where it was really cloudy, 2 days of cloudiness, and I really think that helped the night fishing. But because there was no moon and it was dark, and the fish are gravitating toward a lot of these dock lights, so that kind of helps position the fish. But during the day, I think these fish are still, I know that because I'm watching them. So I went back in the back of a couple coves yesterday, and there might as well have been like a big like a goldfish bowl back there. It was really calm. The fish there were a ton of bait fish in there. There were fish down in these trees. It was only in 8 feet of water, and the fish were down in those trees like 4 or 5 feet down. Every time these bait fish would come by, the fish would run out and try to grab some of them. So I was just watching them doing it on my live scope system. So I was targeting those fish by a couple techniques. You have to get in the trees, and I think that's what's going on, you know, at least for my fishing right now. I'm kind of going to lures, but I'm having to dig a lot of these fish, you know, out of trees. You know, they're near big stumps, they're near big trees, and they're near big laydowns. It's something they're familiar with in their area, and they'll gravitate towards that, I think. You know, in some of the areas, look, you can throw jigs and stuff into creek bed swings. You know, you find the creek beds, you watch them where they're getting a turn. Now, I work the inside and the outside edge. Some people talk about just working the outside, but I'll work both. And sometimes, you know, on the inside, you have a really big tree, and it'll have a big root system right there. And you know, the water's all washed out of that tree, so you're getting down into those root systems. And if you ever seen a picture, if you go out in some of these lake right now when the water's low, you can see it in some places. You can see some stumps that are out of the water, and you can see the base of the stump comes down, and you'll see all the roots coming down. It's completely hollow underneath there. The water can just go in and out of there underneath there, and the fish can hide under there. It's a great way to see, you know, what you're fishing at when you're flipping and pitching to some of these stumps. So, but I'm going to go into what I have been using just here recently, and then I'll talk about you know, some other big fish that I've caught. So we have caught a couple. So anyway, look, so there's no secret that throwing Alabama rigs in this time of year are good. Now you'll notice something on this Alabama rig, and it's there's two ways to do this. So this Alabama rig has 5 posts. I'm only putting 3 lures on, and I use the top as kind of like deflecting tree. So as it comes through, if it hits anything on top, you know, all these hooks are on the top. So I think it deflects it and kind of gives me some protection from it, you know, riding right over a branch and have it catching those top 2. The other way you can do this that I've done, you can take individual baits, just like these kind of baits, and then you can put an owner's hook on them, something kind of weedless hook on that's got a weight on it, and you put those individually on there, and you can bring those through the tree. Now, if you do that, you can put all 5 on there, and you can put all 5 on there and work it through the trees, and it'll be pretty much weedless. The only time it'll kind of get stuck is if this, you know, the head of it kind of gets wedged in a branch or something. So it's a pretty good way to work through. So those are kind of the 2 ways to do it. I kind of still throw this in the open water. I mean, because even there's so many trees in Lake Fork that even when you're in the open water someplace fishing, there's going to be some trees down there. So I tend to do this. A lot of times I don't have all 5 on there. I mean, I do it, but then sometimes I do it like this. And like I said, in the end of the way, try it with like an owner's hook setup, where you have it on the owner's hook, and then you'll hook it on here, and then you can have a weedless version on top. You can do that too. You can combine the 2 if you want. You can do different things. But there's no doubt that the Alabama rig right now can be producing. I'm already finding fish in what I consider to be the winter haunts. So already in spots that I think they'll be there through the majority of the winter still. And that was about 4 days ago. Now I went back yesterday and there weren't as many fish there, so maybe we had a little warmer trend, maybe it kind of moved them off. But when I got there were a lot of bait fish, and they were schooled up. And if you just want to think about places you'll do that at, it's almost the same exact spots that you look at when you're doing summer fishing. So the places that they kind of school up for their summer fishing is almost the same places that they'll school up for the winter fishing, and vice versa. You know, whatever you want to, chicken or egg, right? Which one came first? But so you can do that and work those baits. You can work them slow, you work them fast. You work through the trees. sometimes the surge, but I find that usually most of the hits come when I'm kind of moving it quick and then I'm slowing it down. I'm moving it quick and then I'm slowing it down. And if I'm just a nice steady retrieve coming through there, maybe, but I think you got to have a little reaction, because I think a big predator like a bass, when it sees a school of bait fish, when it's coming at them, if it sees them start to move real quick, it knows that it's got to get them right then. You might force the strike. But then again, I've watched them followed it over and over and over again, sometimes doing that with the with the Garmin system, and you can learn to judge the personality of the fish and kind of see what kind of mood they're in. Are they super aggressive? Are they being really kind of cautious? And you can kind of then kind of judge on, you can kind of change your tactic of what you want to do. Now, if you don't have a Garmin system, you go to those places you throw anyway, just mix it up anyway. If you've got your side imaging and down imaging, you can go through places, at least find where there's fish there, and you can go back, turn back around, mark it, come back around and throw at them. You just kind of have to not be as selective targeting as you can with the Garmin system. So the other thing I use, you'll see, I've already talked about this a little bit on my other previews, is, man, I'm like going into fall and winter, I'm a big spinnerbait person. A lot of people, get away from spinnerbaits, throwing chatterbaits. But look, these are the Booyah brands, so these are the ones that I can throw. Look, I'm not sponsored by these guys, so I'm just showing exactly what I throw. But Booyahs, I throw the white chartreuse. Now, if you notice, a lot of these have painted blades on them too. So these are painted blade ones that I had bought because I just went to Bass Pro to get some, and it was basically because I'd lost a number. I got broke off by a couple of trees, and then I got some customers got them stuck up. But one that really kind of had a lot of luck with too, and you can see is this is that Strike King red eye, and you can see it's got the blade. It's actually got a painted red eye and kind of like bait profile on it. I had pretty good luck with this bait, and so you might want to give it a try. But those white spinnerbaits, the white chartreuse, they work well in that water that's that less clear water, that dingier greenish water. When you see those blades come through there, it'll give you like a thump, and it's almost like a little strobe light going on down there. And as that fish is using its ladder line to get in tracker, it's going to see that easier. A shiny blade in clear water is good. A shiny blade in the really stingy water is not that good. That's why you want to have those painted blades in that type of water. Now, if you're going to go in the clear water, then by all means, the silvers and the brass colors are good colors to be throwing, and you don't really need to be throwing the painted blades in that type of water. So the spinnerbaits are great, and the reason I like them better this time of year better than like a bladed jig, chatterbait type stuff, is that I can get these to come right through the trees. If I just keep it moving, it just kind of bounces its way through the trees for the most part. Most of the time a spinnerbait only gets hung up in the trees if you kind of relax, let it fall sideways, and it gets hooked on something. You can just keep bringing it through there. A lot of times that contact, when it's hit it and it pulls and it jerks off, that's exactly when they hit it sometimes. So you'll hear it coming from there. I've got plumbing places around here. Every fall I catch a big fish. That's why I just caught one the other day. Kind of do the same thing. But you throw those spinnerbaits. These are 3/8. I've got 3/8 ounce, half ounce. I've got up to 1 ounce size for the deeper places that I try to throw. If I'm not having that luck with the Alabama rig coming through these deeper trees, I'll throw a big 1 ounce spinnerbait down there, let it go down, and kind of reel it right through those trees. Let it bumping through those trees, and try and get the bite that way. So the other baits that look, it's wintertime. Now, I'm not going to really cover the shallow stuff right now, because when I say shallow, look, a lot of my fish here just recently are between 4 and 9 feet. That's shallow for right now. And I would have, the water hasn't cooled down enough to get deeper now. My fish that were on the Alabama rig that day, they were a little deeper on that one spot. But even just yesterday, the fish were, 4 to 5 feet deep. Is where a majority of my fish were. They weren't up on the surface. They weren't right 2 to 3 feet. They were 4 to 5, feet deep for the most part. And I was throwing spinnerbaits, and I'll tell you this. So the next lure I'm going to talk about is, and there's a lot of them out there now, but I really like the Lake Fork Trophy lures, and this is the Magic Shad. So they got them, here's a kicker tail and there's a swim tail. There are different lengths of them. You know, if I'm fishing for my big fish, I'm really pretty much throwing the big 5.5-inch one. It's kind of my smallest that I throw if I'm looking for some bigger fish. Now, I'll go downsized a little bit, you know, with these different colors and different, you know, sizes to match the bait. But look, usually the bigger fish, I'm biting a bigger bait. So, you know, that's what I'm usually throwing. And that gets into the story of my client's 12.85. So 12.85, you know, came on the Lake Fork Trophy Lures Magic Shad, and it was at night, very early in the evening. We just started and caught it almost just as it really got dark at that point, and then we were kind of finished for the day. We've been fishing during the day, and it was like a day to a night trip that we had done. And you know, look, he was used to fishing with spinning gear, so we threw some spinning gear on, had some spinning gear on there, big 30-pound braid, 20-pound fluorocarbon. You're throwing some bigger fish, and you need that. And my fish the other day and last night, the same thing. You didn't have that heavier line. In case a lot, and that what happened? He hit the fish. He's got a big hookup, and it's fighting. It's dark. You can't see. Gets stuck on a tree. It gets off. He gets there. Then I'm warning. Don't let it get in the prop. It gets in the prop. And you know, gets in the prop. We had to get it out of the prop, and finally got it unwound, you know, from the prop. Got the net, and finally got it in the boat. And there's pictures of it on my social media and stuff. But bottom line is that it was hitting this big bait, worked through the edges of some of these dock lights, and you know, just working it slow. And we've been throwing this bait majority of the day, and hadn't really caught a big one until we caught that one. So, you know, and it was funny because, you know, my customer said, you know, I was kind of giving up hope, you know, confidence in that bait. I was like, no, you just got to keep working it. You know, it's that kind of bait you're not getting a lot of bites on, I think, that when you're showing that size, but you're going to get a bigger bite. And sure enough, that's what you get on. But the sad thing about that story, I was a 12.85. Of course, we got it registered, and then unfortunately, though, I noticed in the net, it had coughed up. So it was a 12.85. So it was 2.4 ounces from being a 13, and it coughed up a gizzard shad that was, you know, not as big as my hand, but you know, close. You know, it's probably a 6-inch long gizzard shad. So he'd probably just been eating them right down there where we were, and she coughed it up, and her belly was fat already with others, and if she'd had that one more in there, she would have been over 13. So I just luck of the draw there, you know. But that's the way it goes. But you know, look, it was a great catch, and I was so happy for my customer to be able to catch that fish. His son was there, and his father-in-law was there, and so it was just a lot of fun to have that with a family experience and have them kind of chance to catch a fish like that. And he fully understood, like, you know, that's just a once in a lifetime fish, maybe. You know, it's been really hard to catch a fish like that. So, you know, and then look, you can't say anything about throwing crankbaits. So crankbaits, it's starting to get that time of year, so we're going to start looking for these deeper spots that their fish are going to start schooling on, and you're going to work crankbaits slowly through them. And I didn't really pull one out, but that brings in also, you know, like suspending jerkbaits, you know, going down and getting a slow fall jerkbait that you can work down in front of these fish and move it, you know, through them real slow. So, you know, that might come into play just a little bit later than it is now. You know, it's really not that cold yet, but that's going to get into January. But, you know, just start thinking about that type of fishing and what you can do to kind of target those type of fish, these suspending winter fish, because they're going to start doing it. They're, like I said, they started to do it a couple, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and then they weren't there yesterday or the day before when I went back. But I think they'll be, you know, starting to get there as we get a little cold. We had a little cold front coming in this week. So, you know, what else can I say? It's been a great season. It's been a great year. And I'm looking forward to next year. Look, I'm starting to book up, you know, now my property, which you can kind of see behind me, you know, my Airbnb out here, it's about 3/4 booked up for March and April already. So you have to really, if you want to stay out here, you really need to look pretty quick to try to lock some days in, because they're almost full up. And my days in March and April are already booking up. So if you want to book a day for the spring, please get a hold of me as soon as you can, and you know, get scheduled before the dates, you know, fill up completely. Last spring was awesome. You know, had a great time. Did a ton of bed fishing with people, kind of teach them how to bed fish. You know, look, I'm a retired pilot. I got really good vision still. You know, it's kind of something you use to really kind of pick these fish out and what you look for. And I think that bed fishing is kind of an art, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy learning to do it, and I've enjoyed different techniques of doing it, and it was great. I had a great season, so I hope to be able to pass on some more information to people like that this next year because of the great season I had last year. But you know, I'm going to sign off now, but you guys can take a chance to send me any messages and any questions about what we're talking about. If you have any ideas for any stuff you'd like to see, I had somebody send me a good request. I'm working on it right now, and it's kind of something that's on the different types of grass that we find here in Lake Fork. Because, you know, grass is a sore subject for me, because when I first started fishing here, I mean, there was a ton of grass, and now there's not that much grass in a lot of places. There used to be full fields of it out here on the main lake, and now it's not there. I really wish it would come back. I wish we could do something to make that grass, you know, come back in these areas. So, well, the wind's blowing a little bit, and I want to make sure, you know, that it doesn't take too long for this for the sound to get bad. But look, I'm Greg Hill. I'm here from Lake Fork, you know, and basically Fort Operates Lake Fork on my property. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Give me a call. We'll go fishing sometime. But you guys have a great day.